They've done it! The Camelot Kings, after one more fight, they'll get the ring for Quig, untouched, unscathed, bow down to your kings!
Untouched, unscathed. The Camelot Kings had one of the cleanest runs through a world championship that we have seen in Smite history. After a rough first phase, they lost their MVP support and found themselves scrambling for a new one. Rookie Quig steps in and steps up, but the Kings still struggle to find that spark. Heavy is the head that wears the crown as they attempt to find their style and make lightning strike twice for a second championship.
The Kings, for me, as soon as they lost genetics, I feel like they lost their identity. I feel like there's no leash on Variety, not do his weird plays, no leash on Quig to do the right things and things like that. But I would say as the season progressed, when they got Quig, they were working on doing certain things. And you can see now towards the end of the season that they're kind of being more cohesive, playing a lot around Yark, making sure Varieties has comfort picks or the meta picks, pressure in that lane. So I think they are, on an upward trajectory.
I feel like they had a pretty good phase one, I would say, and then they ran into a little bumpy road with their roster. They're doing okay now, but they are trying to find their team identity again, I feel like.
I think they've just struggled to adapt to the changes with Quig. I think they're all really good players. I mean, obviously, if you win Worlds, you have to be a great player, right? Individually, they've all been struggling a little bit compared to what the levels they can hit and they should be hitting. But they're a team you can't really count out at tournaments because if they come in prepared and ready, they have the ability to beat anyone.
They lost the best player. Well, I mean, it's really hard. When a player like me, I'm very selfish when it comes to comms and plans and ideas, and when someone like that leaves a team, it's obviously going to leave a dent. Not that they can't fill that in, but it does take time for you to fill a void and fill a vacuum, and it's just they're doing that right now with Quig.
The silver lining for the Kings the whole year has been your backline are two of the best, most consistent players in the league. I think Big Man and Hardcore have for sure earned that respect as just being two very prominent carry players that at any time, if they're fed, you're on the other side and you're thinking, uh-oh, we're in trouble. They're just very, very consistent, good players. Honestly, I think Variety and Quig have just not looked comfortable at all this year. I think Variety, especially in the mage meta, as of recent, has not been looking that great.
Whenever Quig really gets to run a game, it looks like they're doing really well. Tings is always going to do his job, Yark's always going to do his job, but if Quig can really get rolling, it really seems like they're kind of back in form and they really can close out games pretty quickly.
I would say their playstyle now is probably going to be more not making mistakes and just getting to late game, as in the past it was with Titans and Leviathans 2 years ago. It's not really favorable anymore. Even teams like Ferryman have moved more towards mid game and the Warriors and the Leviathans playing early game, but that's their style.
I could definitely see the Kings making a run at Worlds. I don't think I'm that confident in them going back to back, but it could happen. I also will say about the Kings, I have felt like all year Quig has been a top 2 support the entire year. I think he's very underrated from the outside perspective. I think Quig offers a lot of unique ideas to that team. I think he is a very consistent player as well. And I think there could be a world where, Quig has just kind of figured stuff out before people, or has kind of figured out a meta of hey, these are the characters I'm going to play, and it would be a mini genetics effect in the draft for them. If I'm them, I'm leaning on that duo lane. I think Hardcore and Quig are kind of their win cons this year.
I think they have a lot going for them, and if they can kind of figure out their style, they'll do a lot better than what they've been doing this last phase. I don't think they're chasing the same identity that they had before. I think if they are, they're doing it wrong. They should definitely try to come up with a new identity because they're not the same 5 players as they were before. But I think they have potential for sure.
Will the team reclaim their former glory and make it back to Worlds, or will their crown crumble?